everybody, and welcome back. I wanted to give a little bit of a historical background to the idea of the Mirage, the self-care term, having to deal with something not being what it actually is. Now, if we take a look at it, I'd say that in our history, we started off very much a physical culture, meaning that the body, survival, and that thing were number one. Therefore, our whole reality, the things that we did, were very in tune to surviving physically. Then, as inventions and things went on, time went on, we learned, we grew, we hit the next stage of a more mental aspect. So, this mental aspect was more about what things that can we create, build to make things easier. This moved us away from the physical and a little bit more into the mindset, the mental realm of things. Uh, and from that, we moved on again. And it's again this mental aspect at this point is still very much more survival based in its thinking. And then we moved on to a more emotional contrast, meaning that we're more seeking now the beautiful things, the things that portray life in a very meaningful way, putting our soul into a craft, these kind of things. So we shifted right there from mental into the emotional aspect. In this way, again, very associated with kind of the necessity of life, that we need to see things beautiful because that is how we're going to kind of move forward. And then from that period, we switched again. I'm not going to give specific dates. This is like the general process, I'd say. Uh, then we moved again back to very physical. Now, this physical, though, was more in leisure. This physical had a different feeling than the physical before, where it was more about survival. This was more about pleasure. So, what do we do with this free time actively? Do we get in shape? Is that good? Is that bad? What do we do? So, in this sense, we're very much fascinated with, let's say, the physical form and what that looked like. Uh, that was a certain period of time. Then we passed through again. This is more living for, right? So, instead of survival, more life based. We move into the mental aspect of life. This is currently, I think, where we mostly are right now, and we're going to be shifting maybe in a few years, who knows, into the emotional side of things. But at this point, we're very fixated with the mechanical advances of human mental energy built on past mental energy. Now we're looking at the advanced sciences and technologies and all those kind of things. More in a leisurely way. How do these things improve again? How we enjoy our life, give us more free time. Again, leisure based activities. Well, with this leisure based style thing, and with medicine and all those things that kind of come along uh, on the ride, with all those things, we still have the next step. Well, we've kind of got that all wrapped up. Now that we're moving on to the emotional side of things, we hit a roadblock. What structures do we have to understand emotional leisure, mental leisure in the aspect of thinking from an emotional standpoint? What is that we're trying to achieve with this new emotional for living style thing? And this is something we're not clear on. We don't particularly know how we're going to do that. And in that way, we have mass confusion. Now, to put a little bit more information behind that, so we have a clash of generations. We have a generation very focused on mentally and emotional living for leisure, if you want to call it something, for life. Um, and that way of thinking doesn't pan out well with the older generation, where things were, again, a lot more um, mental based. And again, based on, we're going to say, a little bit survival and a little bit more leisure. Now, that being said, it was all about getting things done. How efficient you are. How great are you? You are great if you achieve these things. These things are all kind of logical in premise. And by chasing that logic, that mental logic, we get to the end outcome of retiring with all the time to do all the things we want and to enjoy the people we want and really live up life at that point. However, again, this mirage shows itself, and although we might achieve that, it is at the cost of the emotional realm of things. So, you are now the age to retire, but the mental and emotional life have not been developed to deal with this extra leisure. All your self value was placed on your work for money. Now, how do you cope? We have a big issue there. Now that this family dynamic has shifted as well, we don't have the ability to integrate back into the family the same way we did before. So we have the emotional reality really being very challenging there. And again, back to this younger generation, if they're growing up with this very emotionally rich environment, how do the older help the younger? What are the younger really doing to deal with the same world that was built on very much get it done style of doing things? How do they survive in that? They cannot really very well. And this is where we're having all this turmoil and problem and challenge. In fact, this younger generation has shown in its reflection to the older generation that they weren't doing a very great job of actually paying attention to their mental and emotional health. So we meet this conundrum where we're stuck with trying to move forward, but we can't move forward from the same platform of getting it done mentally. We have to move forward from an emotional standpoint of how to live life to gain the emotional satisfaction of things and retire emotionally fulfilled and mentally fulfilled, and then create great works in our older ages, which is not retirement, but is a new repurposing of life, and therefore a greater achievement of knowledge can be had from these people that have more leisure in the sense of that. This is not particularly a new concept, but this challenge that we're facing to reach towards it is more a society-based challenge. It's not the one individual struggling with this challenge. It is the way that we've created our lives, and that is being very much challenged by this new wave of emotional content being kind of unswept from the carpet, and now we have to deal with it. We don't have anything in place to deal with it. This is why I think self-care is a great way of helping people navigate this challenge. If you've never done it before, what are you supposed to draw on? We have to put forward the amount of energy that we used to in this new cultivation of understanding self-care. This self-care idea is something that has been perpetuated all through the time up until this point and never yet fully realized on a, let's say, a society-based basis, and therefore it's very prevalent now and is packing the most power for the healing and the growth of the human environment. So this is something that I wanted to put into light, so now you can have the context of where this Mirage idea comes from and the kind of social slash generational dynamic that has built up to this point, and have a better understanding of what is actually happening now. If it seems very physical, if it seems very mental, this is not true. It is mainly emotional, and therefore we have to organize the same mental and physical by understanding the emotional aspects. And this is all new. Well, hopefully that was interesting, and till the next video.